Hello, everybody. So in this video, I'm going to be explaining about the different types of clauses that we have in the English language. So as a reminder, a clause is an idea which is expressed in a sentence. This clause must have a subject and a verb group. For example, if we say the weather is very nice today, this sentence has only one clause because it has only one subject verb group, where the subject is the weather and the verb is. However, in the second sentence given, the weather is very nice, so we're going for a hike. Here we have two clauses because we have two groups of subject verb. The first group is the weather is, and the second group is we are going. So what is then the relationship between clauses? Let's take a look at these two sentences. Number one, Hannah arrived to the meeting on time, but her boss was late. And number two, Zelda wore her jacket because it was cold. What is the relationship between each of the two clauses in each sentence? So in sentence number one, we have two clauses that are of equal importance. And equal importance means that each clause can be a standalone sentence. That means if I take the clause out of the sentence and make it a sentence on its own, it would be grammatically correct and it would make perfect sense. For example, Hannah arrived to the meeting on time. If I stop my sentence there, this would be a grammatically correct sentence and it would make sense. The idea is complete. I don't need any more information in order to understand it. The same thing applies to the second clause in the sentence. Her boss was late. That too can act as a standalone sentence. For this reason, we call these types of clauses independent clauses to reflect the fact that they are independent of each other and can be standalone sentences, each one on its own. In contrast, if we look at sentence number two, here we have the situation where one clause is more important than the other. So for example, Zelda wore her jacket. Here we have an independent clause because Zelda wore her jacket can be a standalone sentence. However, because it was cold cannot be a standalone sentence. Why is that? Because the clause because it was cold serves as a reason supporting the independent sentence. It's telling us why Zelda wore her jacket. So it's a reason. So a reason needs a cause. Without the cause, there can be no reason. So in this way, we can understand why, because it was cold on its own, cannot be a standalone sentence. And we call these types of clauses dependent clauses because they depend on the main clause or the independent clause in order to make sense. Now let's give this a try. You go ahead and take a look at the clauses given and determine whether each one is a dependent or an independent. Go ahead, pause the video if you need to, and take a few moments to do this, and then come back and take a look at the answers with me. All right, so let's take a look at this together. Number one, when the sun rose is a dependent clause. It's a dependent clause because it's giving me the time when something happens, but I am missing the other part of the information. When the sun rose, what happened? That part is not complete. So there's information missing here. So this is a dependent clause. Number two, the baby fell asleep quickly. Here, it's an independent clause. We have a subject and a verb, and the meaning is complete. Number three, as the time passed, once again, we have a dependent clause because something else was happening as the time passed, but we're not told what that something else is. So this is incomplete in terms of meaning. Number four, the boss quit. This is an independent clause because the meaning is complete. And number five, I hope you got that one. After the appointed hour, Now, this here is actually not a clause because it's missing a subject-verb group. So if you notice, we have after the preposition, and then we have the appointed hour, which is the object of the preposition. There is no verb here. And as you remember from the beginning, we said that a clause must have a subject and must have a verb. Let's try one more. Take a look at these three sentences and determine whether each of the clauses in each of the sentences given is an independent or a dependent clause. So once more, go ahead and pause the video if you need to, and then come back after a few minutes for the answer with me. Okay, so let's take a look. Number one, the weather is gorgeous today. Here we have one group of subject and verb. The subject is the weather, the verb is. The verb is. The meaning of this sentence is complete on its own. Therefore, this is an independent clause. It's one sentence with one clause, and it's an independent clause. Number two, the weather is gorgeous today, but tomorrow it's going to rain. Here too, we have two independent clauses because both of these clauses can be standalone sentences. Number three, since the weather is gorgeous today, we're going for a hike. Here we have a slightly different situation. So we're going for a hike is an independent clause because it can be a standalone sentence that is grammatically correct and where the meaning and the idea is complete. However, if I say, since the weather is gorgeous today, since is the same as because. So because the weather is gorgeous today. Once again, here we're giving a reason for something, but a reason is not complete on its own, and in fact cannot exist on its own unless there's a cause. So the clause, since the weather is gorgeous today, is not a standalone sentence. And for that reason, it's called a dependent clause. So that's it for independent and dependent clauses. I hope that was clear for you. Now, the last thing here I want to mention is, what is the function of clauses? Why are we studying all of this? Well, because clauses can be combined in various ways in English to create different types of sentences. You can put two independent clauses together in a sentence. You can put an independent and a dependent together, or you can put two independent plus one or more dependent clauses, and each combination of clauses creates a different type of sentences. In the next video, I'm going to explain in detail the different types of sentences and how to create each one.